What is up, you guys? I hope you're doing well. We're here for our midweek alchemy reading where we go a little bit deeper into our soul school lessons for the week and take a look at the process itself. And so for these readings, we pull from the Wild Unknown Alchemy Oracle deck, and we're going to be clarifying with the Mystical Moments Tarot. So from the Alchemy deck, we've got Scintillate, which is sparks of light, followed by Sol Sapiente, wise salt, followed by Conjunctio, which is conjunction, and then finally Speculum, which is glass. And we're going to go deeper in and actually read these from the book today. So I thought there were some layers that I wanted to touch upon and not skip over. But then there are other layers and layers that are going on in the reading too. So we'll just talk about them all. Okay, so under Sparks of Light, we got 10 of Swords. Under Wise Salt, we've got 7 of Swords. Ooh, no, we never like to see that one. Continuing with 7s under Conjunctio, we've got 7 of Cups. And then underneath Speculum, we've got Queen of Pentacles. So, yeah, I think this is all really interesting. You know, one of the basic ways to describe Kabbalah, Kabbalah isn't really a religion or a philosophy. It's a way of living and perceiving and interacting with life. You can Kabbalah is the inner workings of the universe, essentially, from the spiritual root level on. And it's not necessarily, it's the focus and obsession is the light, the creator, God, but it's not so much the study of God, it's the light self, so much more abstract than anthropomorphizing. And so it's more the study of the soul. It's more the study of the vessel. It's how we can become a greater vessel so that we can have more affinity with the light, so that we can connect with the light and be one with the light and be in union with that divine union, right? So one of the things that you will hear Kabbalists speak about is breaking shells of negativity to reveal inner sparks of light. The Hebrew term for these shells of negativity is called klipat. And these shells are, in modern language, what we're always talking about with like limiting beliefs and subconscious patterning. And it's all of those things that were assigned to us in our soul contract before we came to this life that were, going to be difficulties for us to overcome, parts of our personalities that we would have to transcend, right? So, in a sweeping generalization, we refer to these things as negativity. So it's interesting that we've just come, it's so interesting to me that we have just come through the high holidays. In Rosh Hashanah, we are setting the intention to leave the past behind, to ask for forgiveness and to forgive, to wipe the slate clean. We're looking for atonement, right? And then, what we're doing in that, when you unpack that, what that really means is that we're trying to sift through ourselves and find that klipat, all that density that still needs to be transmuted and turned into gold. And what that does is it reveals sparks of light within us, within our soul, right? See this? This is like the spark of light that's deep within. And then there's like this darkness that just builds up over time, right? So it's like the spirit within us that's completely, it's like a cup out of the ocean of creator, right? It's pure light energy. And that part of the creator is within us. And that's the inner light that wants to shine out and radiate out from within. And it's these layers of negativity, limiting beliefs about ourselves, sadness, anger, grudges that we carry, fears that we carry, all of that puts these layers and veils and a bushel basket, if you will, over that light within. And so part of the work of Rosh Hashanah is to break those layers, to reveal those sparks of light from within. When that inner light is revealed, it creates these blessings in our lives that seem to come through favor and good fortune and like in the flow of destiny and with ease. The surrounding light is like the pressure that life puts on you in order to push you into the process to get the inner light revealed. So the high holidays are special because instead of connecting, we're usually having to earn that inner light by connecting through the outer light, which is the pressure of life that pushes you through processes where you get to the root of that darkness, those shadows in yourself, and you heal them in order to reveal this light. Well, it's like during the high holidays and during the holy holidays throughout the year, those are opportunities to connect directly with that inner light within us. And particularly on Rosh Hashanah, we break through those negative patterns and we really galvanize in our consciousness those patterns that we want to break so that we can be a new person and born again for the year to come, revealing those sparks of light. What's interesting to me is that, so Rosh Hashanah happens, and then 10 days later, Yom Kippur, where we manifest this new soul for the year, and all of this light and blessing comes in, and we sort of seal it off into the vessel. And then there's another week or so that follows called Sukkot. This leads up to the full moon, where we have laid the infrastructure of the new soul, and now everything's getting powered up and juiced up. And so we're kind of like taken through these cycles of challenges over those couple of weeks while we awaken and embody different aspects of the new consciousness and the new self. What's interesting, and the thing that I was going to bring up, is that this year, Rosh Hashanah, the first day of Rosh Hashanah, started on Shabbat. And Sukkot occurred on Shabbat. And I believe, no, Yom Kippur did not, but it was bookended on Shabbat. And so on Shabbat, we are not supposed to use tools or technology. So we didn't blow the shofar on Friday night, which was the seed level of the holiday season. And we didn't blow it on Saturday during the day until sundown, because we're still in Shabbat until sundown. And so during the ritualing of Friday and Saturday, there was no blowing of the shofar until Sunday. Now, it's been noted that on years when Rosh Hashanah fell on Shabbat, that year would be particularly chaotic or particularly blessed. I think it's really interesting that through the Kabbalah Center, through the whole thing, we kept the consciousness of the fact that like this is on Shabbat. Like there's going to be extra power around this. There needs to be extra intensity, extra focus. And it's weird because in years past, the crowd was like really loud and really rowdy through the whole thing. Sometimes so much so that you can barely hear what's going on. And I remember it being distracting in the past. And this year it was like everybody was like really solemn and really focused. And not oddly enough, Israel was attacked. I think at the end of Sukkot, like maybe even the last day or during. And so it's almost as if this holiday, it was like the extra like reverence put into it focus, of ritual. It was like we were preparing, because part of the consciousness during Rosh Hashanah is to put your consciousness in Israel. Israel is the spiritual heart of planet Earth. It is the most powerful portal of spiritual energy on planet Earth. That's why there's always so much conflict and so much intensity there. It's particularly surrounded by people who want to stake spiritual claim or, religious claim to the geographical land itself. Even if they don't realize it, there's something about that piece of area on Earth that is a portal for the soul of the world. So part of the consciousness is to project yourself to Israel in order to make your spiritual work that much more powerful. And I can't help but feel like we were already sending prayers and putting powerful protection around Israel and the people of the Middle East this year as we were praying and feasting and fasting. And it's pretty crazy because a group went from the Kabbalah Center to Israel during Sukkot, and I just wonder if I don't know what day all this started exactly. It's been like super busy and I haven't seen the news, and so I've just been catching it after the fact. And but yeah, I realized, oh my gosh, like the people from the Kabbalah Center are there, like they're traveling, like did they make it home? And I believe they did, but then it's just like, it's the people from the Kabbalah Center in Israel are still there, all the people of Israel are still there. It's just gut-wrenching, but anyway, I just wanted to make that point that, again, this is the kind of year that we are going to have to choose. No matter what is happening, we have a cause state of consciousness where we're not going to get rocked to and fro. We have to remember to maintain a consciousness of unity and, actually praying not just for ourselves, but for the world. And doing all that we can to change our consciousness and our thinking, because that's how it affects the world, is just like sincerely from one person at a time, just realizing how much like your actions have consequences. So many times we don't think about our actions having consequences. For example, and this was the Zohar portion today. This was what it was about. It was about the thing that really grieved God, was that humankind didn't realize how much weight their actions held, how consequential they actually were. We think that we're no big deal. We think we have no power, but the littlest things that we do have huge effects. And for instance, like tonight and last night, I had these tables that were large parties that were, just difficult to organize. And so they were just like running me around back and forth, and I couldn't get their order started. Like they weren't understanding like that I needed to like get them like kind of organized and settled so I can like talk to each person and get their order. And they were getting upset because they're like, what's taking so long? I wanted to be like, you are making this so much harder. Meanwhile, I still had like another table that wanted their check split 9 ways. I had to run 9 credit cards. I had another couple just being nice, having a date on their birthday, so I couldn't ruin their life. It was an anniversary. So anyway, these people are just like so mad that essentially they are creating their own problem, and I'm doing the best I can to keep up with what they want. And so I'm just like, yeah, I understand. Yeah, this is taking so long. It's okay. I'm just sitting there going like, yeah, I'll get my manager so that you can make sure to get me in trouble. Don't worry. I'll make sure that I chastise myself for you. Yes, let's all throw me under the bus. Can't wait for that. So it's like I got in trouble that night. And then like a similar situation happened tonight when another table was kind of like, some of the people at the table wanted to like throw in some things, and then some of the people wanted to like wait and like order, like get organized about what they were going to order. And it's a really long story, but like our restaurant just flows better if you put the whole order in and we course it for you and let that be that. So anyway, there was some miscommunication with some people, like they wanted to and they didn't. And then in the meantime, I had another table who were like fighting with me about like not having a physical ID, and I needed it for their drink. And normally I would be a person that would be like, you know what? Your parent is here. You look of age, like, you know, I'll look at the picture of your passport, fine. But like, we couldn't do it like this time. Like it was just like, the ABC is like too strict and they're going around and shit's happening. People are getting busted. So I was trying to explain this to them, like by law, like Tennessee state law, I cannot accept anything but like a physical ID. And they're like arguing with me. And then there's another table like waving me down. They're like, hey, I know we talked about our tree nut allergy and this is a peanut dessert, but like, is there any tree nuts? And I'm just like, everyone's lives are at stake. Every time they fucking sit down at a table, I have to deal with like a million zillion deadly allergies now. I'm practically a nutritionalist. I've got a medical degree in fucking lower intestinal, like digestive systems. People have so much emotional baggage about fucking getting ID to drink. And then like I've got these other tables and they're complaining that their biscuits didn't come fast enough. And I'm like, okay, you want to possibly get someone uprooted from their whole life, possibly fired, and then be put in a financial bind because like you didn't get biscuits as fast as you thought you were supposed to. Like that's the kind of consequences that can come of being like, I'm gonna make sure that they know that this is unacceptable. And it's like, is it that big of a deal because you going up and like telling the host stand that you are ready to order is like going to get someone in trouble? It really, it is, it can. And so like your actions have consequences. Everything does. Like even when you're like, think that it's benign, like it could. So just like we have to be conscious, right? So the Kabbalah Center today was talking about how our actions have consequences. And so, yeah, it's just changing our consciousness at a personal level. And so we have 10 of Wands with the sparks of light here. And 10 of Wands is about breaking our negativity, ending old patterns, ending old mindsets, old cycles. In order to reveal the light of potential within the soul, within, you know, your consciousness, breaking patterns, the end of a difficult cycle, particularly where, you know, the ego has been plaguing you, you know, through your seed level of consciousness. And it's funny too, because it's like all these things are coming up and poking and prodding and like revealing like through these little pain points, like, oh, that's still there. Oh, that's still there. It's like things are coming up to be shown to us before eclipse season starts, before, you know, the sort of like spiritual hurricane comes through and blows everything loose. It's like whatever mindsets, whatever habits and patterns you need to let go of, it's like you need to let go of them now. And so the reason why these little pain point moments are coming up to trigger emotion in you is so that you can see what's lingering in the subconscious. You know, a lot of times if everything's fine, then there's nothing to trigger that buried grief or that buried anger, that buried fear, and you're just not aware of it. And so it's hard to tap into it unless there's something that like catalyzes it, right? Like, for instance, oh, I still have fear. I still have financial insecurity, right? It's like these things that come up that are like, oh my God, like that could have been such a big deal. It's like, that reminds me like, hey, this is a moment where you can choose certainty. What kind of year are we going to have? This is part of the reason why I started talking about consequences of actions and the year that we're going to have. It could have like an intensity about it. And so in order to have the best year that we can, we want to experience it face to face with the creator, and rather than our backs to the creator or even our face to the creator's back. And so what that means is that in the midst of a fearful situation, in the midst of uncertainty, like we see that, you know what? this is uncomfortable right now, but this is playing out to either show me something that I can grow from or show me fear that's still lingering. Okay. All right. Awesome. I'm having, I wasn't really that upset or take it personally or angry at the guests. So I was like, okay, the rage has been worked through. But there's still a bit of financial fear that like, oh no, like I could get in big trouble. Like, what if I lost my job, you know? And so that's reminding me, oh, the creator is my source. The creator has this under control. And actually, if I embrace this moment, somebody like, you know, doing something that could get me in trouble or saying bad things about me, like, you know, I wear this like red string bracelet to protect against evil tongue. But if people are doing evil tongue against you and you can embrace it, then it actually helps you work off more of your negativity, and it takes some of your negativity and gives it to that person, and they have to deal with your shit. Work off my karma. Sorry about your biscuits. I was trying to give you great service. By the way, I will say that both tables had an amazing time after that, and they all felt bad, and they were all really super nice, and everything worked out. But I was just really just wanting them to have a good experience. But just an example of thinking, being in a moment where, and I mean, all of us have been there in a restaurant or a bar where you're like not getting service fast enough and you're irritated and you're like, you know what, I've had it. Everywhere I go, it's just like terrible service anymore. And you're like, I'm saying something. I'm going to put my foot down and set a boundary. Yeah. And then what? Like, choose your battles. Somebody could like get affected in a really bad way. Okay, why salt? Coming up with 7 of Swords. This is like, okay, we're breaking the old patterns. We're revealing this new light, this new revelation, and actually feeling lighter about it. And more inspired and, you know, pretty excited, and just like we're slowly but surely like kind of turning back on to life. And so why salt with 7 of Swords is like we're starting to like embody this earned wisdom, and it's starting to settle in, and we're starting to be able, it's like when you break in shoes. Like if you've ever had like a really like stiff pair of leather boots, and it takes a while to break them in, and it's just really awkward and painful at first, but over time it becomes comfortable, it becomes natural. It's like almost like a second skin. So again, the wise salt is like the wisdom that we earn through experience. Think about the people in your life. Like, wisdom is not just insight. Like, you might understand a concept, but like, can you live that concept? And not only can you act in that concept and like live in it, but can you like run to that concept because you know that you're like, no, this is actually going to be the best thing in the end. I've lived through this. I've learned my lesson. That is going to lead to nowhere, right? Wisdom. How many people do you know with like real wisdom that you can think of? Like I sat there thinking today, and I was just like real wisdom, and not just, yeah, I mean, they've got some street smarts, or they're pretty level-headed, or they kind of get this in some way. But like someone who has like layers of dimension of depth and wisdom when it comes to multiple categories in life. I was really hard pressed to think of some people. I thought to myself, well, I would probably want to sit with some people at the Kabbalah Center. Like some of my Kabbalah teachers, like I feel like they take the time to think about things in layers of depth, and then they live from experience. But even then, it would only be some particular ones. So yeah, the salt is hard earned, the wisdom, right? And this salt is interesting because the salt can flavor something. It can create like a gritty layer, like it can help the texture of something. It can help something become more stable or sturdy. Like for instance, if you put salt over ice, you won't slide. So it can create grit, strength, and also preservation. Like you put salt in something to preserve it, to save it. So this is like this earned wisdom, this like knowing better and doing better. 7 of Swords is like, having the wisdom to see through our own bullshit and also have the wisdom to see through other people's bullshit too. This is actually witnessing ourselves and recognizing when our behavior could be manipulative, because that's hard to see. And then also being able to recognize when someone else is manipulating you, which is also hard to see many times. And so the Seven of Swords energy is about lying, cheating, stealing, cutting corners, something that robs you of your time and resources. So this is, I think, just having the wisdom to not lie to yourself, not lie to ourselves anymore. Like when we see our patterns coming up, we're like, no, I can't, I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to lie to myself. I'm not going to live in a fantasy about this. You know, this is next to Seven of Cups. Seven of Cups in the shadowy aspect is living in a fantasy or fantasizing or believing a fantasy. But in a good way, it's being clear about what you want and like dreaming about options. And I think that card carries both of the meanings within the context of this reading. So we're seeing through other people's red flags, their lies, their BS. We're done with that. We're done with not being our authentic selves and presenting a version of us that's not authentic. And we're done dealing with people who are also not real or authentic either. And so we're wise enough to not want to go through those patterns and those hard lessons again. And so, yeah, anything that's just like shady is out. Anything that's not in alignment is out. But I think most of all, we're just wise enough to not be in denial anymore, to not lie to ourselves, and to not let someone else present us with an exaggeration that we would like to be true, if that makes sense. I also think that because of the reading a couple of days ago, it was one of our weekend readings with the radiant sun. It was warning of our tendency to be overly empathic and then be overly influenceable by others who have an agenda. And so this is, again, breaking the patterns of the past, revealing the light, revealing truth, revealing, breaking like the end of old painful cycles and new cycles coming forward, because we can see through maybe ways that like other people have tried to influence us because they had agendas or they had things that they wanted, right? And maybe you have been overly empathic, and as a Libra themes are coming up big time this week, especially with the new moon eclipse happening in Libra. So any codependency or enmeshment, right, where you felt like emotionally responsible for others and you were self-abandoning to maintain the status quo, like all of that stuff is being brought to the surface so we can see it, so we can put it into it and have new relationship cycles. Which is talked about in this card. The Conjunctio card talks about like an equal love union and like an infinity union. And this was the specific card I wanted to talk about or I wanted to read from, because the others are pretty straightforward, but this one, it was like, oh, I didn't really see that one coming. This is Conjunctio. So this is the binding and the bonding of two things. More so and like on a deeper and more extreme level than coagulato. So Seven of Cups with the Conjunctio card is like, it's just like I saw this character being like, I want that one. Like, this is the one I want. So it's like, of all your dreams, it's like getting really clear on what you want to connect with, what you want to establish, what you want to bond with. There might actually be a love partner coming through. There have been hints in the themes of the readings recently about like that soulmate energy again, a love partner, a romantic relationship, or new love cycles starting, which can include new friends, right? And all kinds of new relationships. So new love cycles could be starting, a love partner could be coming in, or a current relationship could be deepening. But this is kind of like, I feel like this is, the person is like, that's the shiniest star in the sky. And like, that's the one that I'm picking out, kind of thing. So there could be like a star-crossed or like a destined kind of feeling of something coming through. And the speculum glass is about getting clarity. It's about being aware of your hermeneutic lens. Like, what is the quality of the lens that you're perceiving through, right? Is it cloudy? Is it mucky? You know, are you looking at the world through rose-colored glasses? Are you looking at the world through dirty, you know, muddy glasses? Like, are you looking through the world through disappointment all the time, or like, you know, fearful expectations, or pessimistic views, or like, you know, what is this lens that you're looking through? But to me, it feels like clarity. This is the glass that the alchemist looks through to look at the work, and it magnifies the work. And it also points out that this is the work looking up at the alchemist through the glass. Now with the Queen of Pentacles is stable. She's solid. She's grounded. She's well taken care of emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. Like, everything's really solid, and she's got all this fertility and beauty behind her. And the way that these cards are laid out, it's like she's looking back at all of these other, she's looking back at this growth period of all the difficulties that she's gone through to get to where she is now in this fulfillment here. So it's like she's looking back, she's like looking at all the phases. And so on the other side of this, I feel like there's a lot of clarity coming, and there's like we're gonna feel like, oh, I've arrived. Like I'm clear, I know what I want, things are happening, they're starting to come into focus. So I think that this is just a really great moment, that we are being encouraged, that we're crossing through a portal into a new experience, a new life, with new cycles starting. And it's the heaviness and the difficulty, at least on our personal level, is shifting. Love, divine union, infinity. Conjunctio is the great alchemical operation of love. During this stage, we witness the miraculous work of two opposites merging to create a unique third form. Sun and moon unite to reveal the entire cosmos. Black and white unite to reveal the spectrum of color. Unlike coagulatio, conjunctio represents a conscious and benevolent union, one that springs forth from awareness, acceptance, and devotion. It is not a compromise, but rather an activation, a holding of tension and presence that allows each of the entities to thrive and express themselves. Experiencing conjunctio is one of the blessings of the human experience. Whether the bond is with human, nature, or divinity, recognize it by the stirring of your heart and an element of surprise. Through the opposites arises the infinite. Look at number 2, the current standpoint of the Mahatmas by Hilma of Klint. To ponder the center of the lemniscate. Take note if this card appears in the vicinity of the alchemical wedding or the Venus card. If so, the message of love is resonant, loud, and clear. We don't have the Venus card coming from this deck, but we do have Queen of Pentacles, which is related to Venus. What's the note over here? The alchemist is patient and true to their own heart. Do not be fooled by preconceived images of what conjunctio looks like. What is this? Conjunctio. Love is creative and therefore seeks new forms. So awesome. New cycles of love. That is, includes loving life and loving, the day-to-day of your life too. It's not just about relationships, although it is the relationships that fill us with love and that we fill with love. So, all right, you guys, I hope y'all have a good rest of your night or day or whenever you're watching this. And we will be together again for the next episode, which is our romance reading for the week. All right, ciao.